So today we're going to compare the business running costs of a Polestar 2 versus a Tesla Model 3 long range. So stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel, folks. JD here again with another quick car finance related tutorial for you. I hope you're all safe and well. So what I want to do today is compare the business lease, the benefit in kind and the electricity running costs in theory for a Tesla Model 3 long range versus a Polestar 2. Both of those cars are fairly similar in terms of their size and certainly their P11D values. So I just wanted to look at the overall theoretical cost if we were going to run them for 36 months, and we're going to see which one wins. Okay, today's video again has been sponsored by our new friends at GKL Leasing. GKL are a long-established national leasing company, and they offer business leasing and vehicle finance solutions. So whether your business needs a vehicle from 1 month to 4 years, hybrid electric, car or commercial, GKL can help. And if you look at the link at the bottom, and I will put a link to the landing page for GKL in the description for this video, you can get in touch with them and get your own quotations. Today GKL have kindly provided me with an example quotation based on a 3-year lease for the Tesla Model 3 long range and the Polestar 2. Now this is only an indicative quote, so obviously do get in touch with GKL at that link which is in the description for this video, and they will be able to give you a bespoke quotation. So what I've done is I've just knocked up a little spreadsheet again, very quick, so excuse the formatting, but what I'm going to do is break it down into 3 parts, if you like. We're going to look at the P11D value and the subsequent benefit in kind tax payable, both for a 20% taxpayer and a 40% taxpayer, starting from April 2021. So we're going to look at tax year 21-22, 22-23, I can't count, and 23-24. We're then going to look at the lease costs based on the quote that GKL has provided us with today, and then we're going to look at the running costs, and we're going to assume some different electricity prices. Okay, so let's start with the P11D value. So as you can see from GKL's quote, they're very, very similar. These are standard spec cars, I should say, so there's no metallic paint, etc. These are just as they come. The Tesla Model 3 long range has a P11D of 49,935. The Polestar 2 slightly under at 49,845. These quotations are based on a 33 plus 3 or a 3 plus 33. So 36 months in total, 3 months down, followed by 33 equal payments. 30,000 miles on the contract, so 10,000 miles per annum. And as you can see, the Tesla Model 3 has an upfront payment of $1,758.93 and then has 33 monthly rentals of $586.31. And the Polestar 2 has an upfront payment of slightly higher, $1,845.78, followed by 33 monthly rentals of $615.26. And I should say that these prices are fully maintained, so they include your servicing, your tyre costs, etc. So let's just have a look at how that affects our benefit in kind tax. So on the left we've got the Tesla Model 3 and on the right we've got the Polestar 2. So if you remember from my previous video when we looked at benefit in kind, the nice thing about leasing electric vehicles for business users is that the benefit in kind tax is really, really low. Currently, tax year 2021 is 0%, but I'm going to assume we're going to start this leasing example from April next year, so April 2021. So the benefit in kind tax is 1% for 21-22, and then it's 2% for 22-23 and 23-24, and I think that also runs up to 24-25 as well. So this is assuming we're running our 36-month lease from April 2021. So we take our P11D value of 49,935 on the Tesla. 1% of that is 49,935. So if you're a 20% taxpayer, you would only pay £99.87 a year for tax year 21-22, And then for the 2 subsequent years, when we're looking at 2%, we would be paying £199.74 per year. So that works out at £8.32 a month next year and £16.65 per month for the 2 years following that. So if you're a 40% taxpayer on the Tesla, you'd be looking at £199.74 a year or £16.65 a month next tax year, and then 2 more years at £33.29. The Polestar is obviously very slightly less because its P11D value is what? Is £90 less. That's it. So you can see how closely matched these two cars are from a purchase price P11D value. So that has a fee of £99.69 for a 20% taxpayer for next year, and then £199.38 for the 2 subsequent years. And if you're a 40% taxpayer, £199.38 a month, £199.38 a year, or £16.62 per month. And then the 2 subsequent tax years, when we're paying 2%, we've got £398.76. Okay, which works out at £33.23 a month. So you can see, regardless of whether you're a 20% taxpayer, a 40% taxpayer, etc., it's so cheap compared to. If you check out my previous video, I looked at comparing a Polestar with the BMW 520d, and for a 4-cylinder diesel car, you were looking at 31% benefit in kind tax. And for a standard taxpayer with a personal allowance of £12,500, we're actually getting into a negative tax code when leasing a 4-cylinder diesel. So you can see how much more attractive these are for a business. So in this case, the winner, just by a tiny margin, is the Polestar. Okay, so you can see here $33.23 a month versus $33.29 a month. It's negligible. $16.62 a month if you're a 20% taxpayer versus $16.65. So they're almost identical, and that goes without saying because we know that the P11D values are almost identical. So let's now move on to the lease. So as we said earlier, the lease quoted by GKL are based on 3 plus 33. Okay, so we've got one payment of $175,893 for the Tesla, followed by 33 equal payments of $586.31. So across the term, that comes out at $21,107.16 plus VAT. So everything in this video is going to be excluding VAT. There is quite a difference there, look, you can see, because if we look at the Polestar, you've got 1 month at $1,845.78, followed by 33 payments of $615.26. So that gives us as an overall lease cost of the Polestar of $22,149.36. So what's the difference there if we just subtract that from that? £1,042 cheaper across the 3 years to lease the Tesla Model 3 long range against the Polestar 2. Okay. Finally, let's move on to running costs. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I've assumed the official economy figures for both cars. I've never driven an electric car yet, but every video I watch, it's highly unlikely that you'll get close to these figures, just the same as it's highly unlikely you'll ever get the official fuel economy figures for a diesel or a petrol car. The official economy figures for the Tesla Model 3 long range. Now, most cars quote in miles per kilowatt hour. Tesla quote in watt hours per mile. So I've kind of converted both of these into the same unit. So the Tesla has an official watt hours per mile figure of 265. So that basically means you consume 265 watt hours per every mile travelled. If we want to convert that into, which I think is a more usable unit, which is miles per kilowatt hour, which is more akin to miles per gallon, all you've got to do is take 1,000, which is 1 kilowatt, divide that by 265, and you get a figure in the Tesla's case of 3.77 miles per kilowatt hour. If we look at the official figures for the Polestar 2, it's slightly lower. Well, it's actually higher consumption, but lower efficiency. So they quote 312.5 watt hours per mile. Again, 1,000 divided by that figure gives us 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. So on the official cycle, the Tesla Model 3 can travel just over half a mile further per unit of electricity, or per kilowatt hour. Okay, so 3.77 miles per kilowatt hour for the Tesla, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour for the Polestar. I hope this is making sense. Do email me, comment below if you want me to go over anything again. So, how much, in theory, are these going to cost us over the term of the lease, so 30,000 miles? Well, again, I'm using the Octopus Go tariff, and as I've always say, I've got no affiliation with Octopus Go apart from the fact that I use them myself. They have this tariff whereby you get cheap electricity between the hours of 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. and they charge you 5 pence per unit, inclusive of VAT. So I've taken the VAT off these, so 4.8 pence. Let's just round these down a little bit. Yeah, okay, so 4.8 pence per kilowatt hour, exclusive of VAT. They have a peak tariff price of 13.45 pence, inclusive of VAT, so that's 12.9 pence if we take the 5% VAT off. And then what I've done is I've kind of called it a half and half tariff. So let's say you need to charge for more than 4 hours. So let's say that you try and get your staff to charge between 12:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. 12:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. at 4.8 pence per unit. 4:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. at 12.9 pence per unit gives us an average figure of 8.8 pence per kilowatt hour, or per unit of electricity. So we can now work out our cost per mile for each of these cars. So we know up here, look, that the official figure for the Tesla is 3.77 miles per kilowatt hour. So 1 kilowatt hour costs us 4.8 pence. So if we divide 4.8 pence by 3.77, we get an off-peak cost. So that's if we only charge between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. of only 1.3 pence per mile. If we use the peak charging, so that's only charging during the daytime, that would be 3.4 pence per mile for the Tesla. And if we use the half and half, so half at the 5 pence or 4.8 pence and half at the 8.8 pence, sorry, half at the 12.9 pence, which gives us an overall of 8.8 pence, hope you're keeping up with this, we get a price per mile of 2.3 pence. Okay. Similarly, if we apply the same calculations to the Polestar, we get slightly higher cost per mile. And that makes sense because the consumption is higher. We get 1.5 pence per mile if we're using the off-peak charging, 4 pence per mile if we're using the peak charging only, and 2.8 pence per mile if we're using half and half. So now all we've got to do is multiply these figures by 30,000 miles, which, if you remember, is our contract mileage on our lease. And this obviously is assuming we do travel exactly 30,000 miles in these 3 years. We might not. So, how much is it going to cost us? Now, when I first did this earlier, I thought that can't be right. It's going to cost us, believe it or not, if we were to run the Tesla for 30,000 miles, assuming we can get these official figures, so probably take 20% off them, you know, in the real world, it's going to cost us only £378.57 to run that Tesla for 30,000 miles. Even at peak charging only, and this obviously excludes charging at motorway services where you can pay, you know, 30 pence a unit or more. If we're only charging at home during the day with the peak tariff, £1,022.14 for the Tesla, and then a half and half tariff of £700.36. That compares with the Polestar 2, £446.43, £1,205.36, or £825.89 for the half and half. So again, you can see that the Tesla is going to be slightly cheaper to run. So what's our grand total then? Well, let's just take the total lease cost for the Tesla, which was $21,107, and the total lease cost for the Polestar, which was $22,149.36. So we take that. Now we'll do 2 comparisons here, overall comparisons. One, 20% taxpayer, and assuming you're charging only during off-peak hours. And we'll do another one which is 40% taxpayer and assume you're charging with the half and half. Okay, so half at the low rate, half at the normal rate. How much is it going to cost us overall then? Well, the lease is going to cost us $21,107.16 on the Tesla versus $22,149.36 for the Polestar. The benefit in kind for a 20% taxpayer is going to be $499.35. Now, where have I got that figure from? That's 1 year at the 1% rate. So that's 1 year at $99.87 and 2 years at $199.74. So that gives us a grand total of $499.35. Similarly for the Polestar, very, very close. Remember, there was nothing in it really for the benefit in kind section, $498.45. Running costs. So all I've done here is taken the off-peak running cost for 30,000 miles. We'll put some different miles in here in a minute as well, just to see what difference that makes. 378.57 versus 446.43 for the Polestar. So that gives us a grand total for the Tesla of 21,985.08 versus 23,094.24 for the Polestar. So there's a difference there, look, of £1,109.16. Overall running cost per month, $610.70 versus $641.51 for the Polestar. And remember, that's tyres, servicing, electricity. Okay. Finally, then, let's look at the 40% taxpayer. So obviously the lease payments are exactly the same. Benefit in kind. So we've got 1 year for tax year 21-22 at $199.74 or $199.38 for the Polestar, and then 2 years at $399.48 for the Tesla or $398.76 for the Polestar. So that gives us $998.70 or $996.90. So again, marginal. Running costs, so this time I've used, assuming we're going to use the half and half tariff. Okay, so 12.30 till 4.30 at 4.8 pence. And then actually it could be any other 4 hours. It doesn't have to be consecutive. So it could be that you charge it for 4 hours at night time and then you get home from work, maybe you come home early in the afternoon and you stick it on for another 4 hours in the daytime. It doesn't have to be consecutive. And with smart charges, you can tell it when you want to charge. So that comes out at $998.70 for the Tesla, or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line, aren't I? $736 for the Tesla, or $825.89 for the Polestar. So overall, a difference of $1,165.94 for a 40% taxpayer using half and half electricity tariffs. $633.51 per month for the 40% taxpayer on the Tesla, $665.89 for the Polestar. What we'll do, just out of interest, now obviously this would affect the lease price as well, but let's just say we only ran them for 20,000 miles on a 30,000 mile lease. You can see the difference there. So running costs are marginal. 1,086.54 difference for a 20% taxpayer, 1,124.09 for a 40% taxpayer. Let's do 10,000 miles a year. Sorry, 10,000 miles overall. You see, there's very little difference because they're both coming down. So comparatively, there's not a lot in it. But as you can see here, the Tesla Model 3 has just got the edge, certainly on the lease costs and the running costs. Okay, I hope that was interesting. It certainly was for me when I'm certainly in a situation myself where I'm considering a Polestar 2 or a Tesla Model 3. As I said earlier, do check out the GKL website, the Car Finance Simplified landing page. And if you click on the link here at the bottom, and I will also put a link to that in the description for the video, you can get in touch with GKL and obtain your own lease quotations to suit your own circumstances. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. You take care.